Well, Steve, hello.
Hello,
As far as I'm concerned, the ukulele today is a catalyst. What do I mean by that? There's
Ukulele du jour.
yeah, but in addition to that, ukulele has been so special to me for a long, long time, and a big reason is the ukulele is not just about C, F, and G7. The ukulele is about making friendships. The
Hmm.
ukulele is learning about things about the instrument and about music that I don't know that I would like to learn about. The
Hmm.
ukulele is about having special events like coming here to Maui to visit with ukulele friends and just share with
Hmm.
ukulele. And perhaps perhaps the best thing about ukulele, at least for me, is that it's all about having fun. And so that is having fun is the thing that has kept me in ukulele for a long, long time.
And let's hope a long, long time
Yeah,
further.
absolutely. So while all of that was going on for me, Kimo, What was going on with you, Steve Grimes, and
How far
ukulele
back are
and
we
building
going?
it? About that far back?
uh, no, it's my career has. I was a junior engineer at Boeing, and I went through school in math and engineering, and just thought I would be a technoid,
Hmm.
my whole life. And I did a year or so at Boeing, and then I decided it wasn't for me, and I had made a mandolin. My first instrument was a mandolin, and I had been playing fiddle, mandolin, guitar for years, and the, the idea that I could actually possibly make one that I could play was astounding to me. I had done some repair, not really knowing what I'm doing, but
Mm-hmm.
I'd done some repair, and I just knew that I liked to work with my hands and I liked instruments. And there was this marriage that happened early on, I'll say 72, 73,
Uh-huh.
where that first mandolin came together, and that was like an eye opener for me. And I went, bingo,
Do you
that makes sense. That's what I want to do.
do you remember from that first mandolin that you made what what was it about? I'll just call it overall the process that that attracted your attention.
Well, it was musical instruments was just something you play.
Hmm.
And somebody far away in some factory, they just drop off an assembly line belt.
Right, right,
It's something,
right.
the concept of actually hands actually doing it. I mean, of course, I knew there's Stradivarius on up to the future, I mean, to the present, but the idea of me doing it was completely foreign. It hadn't even entered my mind until a friend said, I have this guitar. I was making rudimentary furniture. He goes, you work with wood. Can you fix my guitar? And I said, what makes you think I could fix a guitar? And he said, well, you work with wood and, let's take a look at it. And it was almost unplayable. It was a Goya classical guitar. But I just looked at it and I thought, it's wood. Don't be intimidated. How hard could this be?
Hmm.
So, and I worked on it for a while and I got it to play like a new guitar. Got the action
Right.
down where it was supposed to be. Got cracks repaired, neck reset. That was the first thing I did, and that was the eye opener. That was fun. That was really fun. And like you were saying, it's about fun.
Yeah.
I have this little sign up here on the wall that says, "The greatest accomplishment is to blur the line between work and play." So
Oh,
what I studied in college wasn't fun. I mean, I probably would have enjoyed my work to some degree, but this is taking it to a whole other level. I mean, Lutherie
cool.
for me, was taking it to a whole other level, much more fun.
So let, let me get back to that first mandolin one more time to bring in something different because you mentioned that from the standpoint of you being attracted to that from a technical standpoint on what you were doing to build that first mandolin or repair
Yeah.
an instrument. At that time, was how strong or how influential was your interest in music to that first violin, if any at all?
No, there had been, I went to, when did I start? I was 13 and I mowed lawns and saved up, I think I got paid $1 to mow somebody's lawn. And I saved up $20 because one of my friends in the neighborhood had bought a banjo. And there was this group, the Kingston Trio.
Oh, yeah.
And I went, and my friend Bob bought a banjo, and I went, and he learned to play it, and I went, wow, he couldn't do this last week. And then the next week he was doing something that he couldn't do just a few days ago. So that really attracted me, that you could actually get an instrument, learn to play it, and then play with someone else
Share.
and share,
Yeah, there you go.
communicate that musical language, just
Right.
make stuff up. So I saved up $20 and I bought a folk guitar. What was it? I think it was a Kent. Really cheap. Maybe one of the first guitars that come out of China. I don't know. But I made it work and I learned to play it a little bit. And so the interest was in music way before the interest in making a musical instrument.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
I think I started when I was 23 and I was playing for 10 years because I started playing at 13.
Got it. So, when I first became familiar with the name Steve Grimes, and as I continued to hear about you and your work, it was almost totally about guitar and the guitars that you build. And you just mentioned that you started by building a mandolin. And you also talked about your love of music and a banjo. So, what now for you? How does ukulele fit into all of this? How does ukulele fit into the Grimes picture?
Well, it has taken over. I mean, not a bad thing, but
Why? Why is it taking over?
I think it's, the music industry, the music playing public, it's cyclical. There's cycles to it. And ukulele is riding a crest that it's been riding for quite a while now. It's been around forever. But in 2000 or the late 90s, this shelf was all archtop guitars. I was known for archtop guitars. I built a few ukuleles, a soprano, a tenor, and something I thought would be closest was even bigger than a baritone. But back in the 70s, because I liked small instruments. But then I studied a little bit with a violin maker, and he showed me how to carve tops, and how to shape tops, and how to voice a complex soundboard that you have when it's curved.
Right.
Because they're varying thicknesses. It's thicker in the middle, thinner on the edge. The whole thing works in modes. So I learned how to do that, and then I was off and running. I wanted to make archtop mandolins and archtop guitars. The orders for guitars completely outshone the orders for mandolins, and I became an archtop guitar maker by the late 70s. I was making almost exclusively archtop guitars. So fast forward, I came to Hawaii in '82. I met Keola Beamer soon thereafter. He had a double hole flat top guitar, and it needed some repair. He brought it up here, and I looked inside, and I basically just said, I'd like to try to build one of these with the 2 holes, and I just want your opinion. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want your opinion. And he said he would do that. So that ended up being the first one that he got from me. And I think there's been 3 or 4 more. But that got me started on flat tops with the double sound holes. And then some of my customers in their 90s started requesting ukuleles. Don't you build ukuleles? And I said, well, I've built a few. Would you build me one? Okay. What size? Tenor. And I said, sure. Why not? And that's when I would finish a tenor, and then I thought, okay, fingering is the same as a guitar, the last four strings of a guitar. Yes, it's a fourth up or whatever it is. It's a different chord, but you don't have to learn to play it. You can play it like a guitar player right off the bat. So that's when I had to build one for myself, which I still have. I built it in, I think, 96 or 97. I still have it. I use it on my gigs. I write music on it, and I play real old school Hawaiian ukulele.
That's okay.
But I'm having fun. So that's the bottom line for me. It's a very useful instrument. Like you were saying earlier, it's not just about Hawaiian music. You can do anything on it.
Right. Right. And it's a pretty smart instrument because it can just about play any song that's ever been written.
As you've proven.
Wow. Thank you for that. I want to get to this ukulele from the standpoint of when a person, any player, for example, when he goes out to buy an instrument, that instrument can have certain influences on that person. The first influence is the person, the musician, knows or has a pretty clear idea what he wants to get out of that instrument.
Right.
And sometimes, if not every time, when we do that exclusively, things about the instrument that are really wonderful, in addition to, go. And so, the way I want to get to this instrument is first of all to tell the listening and viewing audience that one of the things I really like about working with quality luthiers like you is the collaborative process. So I want to share with the people what I shared with you about what I wanted from this ukulele, and then if you would, I'd like for you to share with me and the audience what it is about this specific ukulele that interested you in making it. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so who first, you or I?
That was a lot of general questions. If you want to ask something more specific, I can get started on it because I can babble with the best of them. So
Go ahead, you first.
Okay. So you were talking about a tenor ukulele with the long scale.
Right.
Let me ask you a question,
Uh-huh.
the interviewer. What is it that you were looking for in a long scale?
Great question. I was at Manny Hallican's shop one day and ready to go home. And on my way out, I noticed this ukulele was hanging on the wall, just collecting dust. And Manny had put an eagle on it. So I thought, boy, I've never seen an eagle on an ukulele.
You mean an
before.
inlay?
Yeah.
Inlaid in.
Yeah. So I grabbed it, played it, and it sounded good to me. It just sounded good. Mm-hmm. However, I could tell that the strings were stressed, that they were too tight. So the first thing I did was, Manny, I want to buy this uke because it needs to be played as opposed to just hanging on the wall collecting dust. Bought the uke, played it, and in talking to Manny, finally realized, because I learned that if you take a certain, by convention, I guess, scale, and lengthen that scale, and use the same tuning, that it'll tighten the strings.
Correct.
So once I learned that, I went, oh, okay, here's how I fix that on this uke. I down-tuned the uke. And I down-tuned it one full step, from C6 to B flat 6. And it sounded much better. Much better, yeah.
Wow.
So I thought,
Softer.
mellow,
Okay.
mellower. And I was thinking, wow, this is great. and so the the other thing that came up is I was talking to another luthier, Jay Lichty, once, and I don't know how we got around to tunings, but I remember his question, and his question was, Kimo, do you think that there is such a thing as a sweet spot, a tuning sweet spot for an instrument based on what that instrument is? And I said, I don't know, because I've always tuned by convention. This is
Right.
how you tune a tenor uke,
Yeah.
this is how you tune a baritone uke.
Right.
So, based on my experience with Manny's uke, I started down tuning my tenor ukes, and I loved the sound. I loved the sound. And I also thought, okay, well, if we extend the scale just a little bit, it'll make holding chords up around the 8th or 9th fret a little more comfortable. And my ears tell me when you do that, you get a little more sonority. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what my ears
For
tell
you,
me. Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
I'm sure it is.
And so that's how I came up with the added length, scale length.
Well, first of all, it was fun making this ukulele for you. As it usually is, I love the process of working with somebody to try to build their idea of the holy grail of instruments and my idea of the holy grail. They're different, but somewhere in the middle is a holy grail that makes both parties happy. I will say no if someone requests something that I don't think is going to work, or I wouldn't be
Sure.
proud of it
Sure.
circulating with my name on it. I'll just say, I don't think you want to go there. And then we just kind of find wood that works, a scale that works, an aesthetic that works. And I've always, from the get-go, I've always had the policy. If you don't like it, I will buy it back from you. Because I have people waiting, that don't want to be on a wait list. And so
Right.
I do make a few spec instruments for people that want to walk into the shop and go, let me try this one. I like this one. Out the door. A few. But I do have commissions, and I have a backlog of about a year. But working with you on this, a great player like yourself, is really fun for me and a challenge too, because you're telling me what you need, and I'm trying to just bank on this experience and just what I know will work or what I think will work, and come up with something. So you mentioned the long scale, and I like a long scale because for a different reason than you, I like the sound of high tension strings.
Right.
On a guitar, I like medium strings because you can, if you to talk about expression, if you feel like you're at a part of a song where you need to dig in, it's not going to flap against the frets and buzz.
Right.
So I like the tension. As a matter of fact, on my classical guitars, if they don't specify the string in the tension, I will usually suggest high tension strings.
Yeah.
So the longer scale, like you were saying, gives you more tension to the strings, and that drives the top more. A little bit brighter,
Right.
but a little bit more power, a little bit more volume. And it's important to have this bridge in the optimal part of the top. So the vibrating area of a top is basically from the sound hole to about half an inch from the
Right.
tail, where that solid block of wood inside, that half-inch block of wood, this is your speaker. And so if you were to put the bridge down here, as I've seen some luthiers do, just to, I don't know why, but it's just very bright and thin. And if you move it up, you increase the, especially in guitar, you'll increase the mid-range. But if it's basically in the middle, if you think of this as a circle,
Right.
and you put the bridge in the middle, you're going to get the maximum balance between bass and treble out of an instrument like that. So that's why I suggested don't go with 14 frets to the body, go with 15 frets to the body. 14 frets to the body would have put this bridge here, 15 is
Right.
here,
Right.
16 frets, the bridge would be here. So to get the bridge, that's the most important thing. But it does give you an extra fret. A little bit more playability before your hand has to reach over to reach the upper
Yeah.
notes.
See, that's the reason why I so love interfacing with you guys at Make Quality Use, because there always is something to learn. And I really appreciate that. You know, several times many years ago, I thought that I had finally found the ultimate ukulele. And then it dawned on me one year that I thought I had found the ultimate ukulele several times.
Was it just your way of acquiring more ukuleles? Come on, Kimo.
Well, that's part of it.
That's part of it.
But
Ukulele acquisition syndrome.
absolutely, that's a big part of it. But
Yeah.
what I learned from that is, and what I think now is that there is no such thing as the ultimate ukulele. That you cannot build one instrument and have everything in that instrument that you like. There always needs to be a compromise. But to me, that compromise is never about good or bad. It's always about preference. When you mention the fact that you like a taut string, for example, I like a loose string
Yeah.
because I associate, I should say looser or not as tight, because I associate that with mellow. Because I prefer a low and mellow overall sound as opposed to high and bright. It's also the reason why, one of several reasons why I like a low G instrument. Because one of the challenges of ukulele is it's very, very difficult to play the ukulele as a solo instrument and make it sound whole. The degree to which, my ears tell me, the degree to which I have a certain amount of low end, bottom, makes that easier to do. And based on the activities that I enjoy in ukulele, I try and play solo a lot because I teach a lot, and the reason why I like to play solo a lot is so people hear just that ukulele.
Just the ukulele.
Yeah.
Well, your style too, because you play chord melody, and so there's melody and chords happening at the same time, which gives it the effect of two people playing together.
Yeah.
You know, and it's fuller. It's not just single note linear playing, and it's not strumming. So you do both together.
Yeah. I appreciate that, and a lot of people have told me that. But in addition to that, a lot of people are surprised, I guess, when I tell them that my style of play is how I learned. For those of you familiar with some people who are well-known ukulele players, guys like Eddie Bush, Nelson Waikiki, Charlie Kello, all of those guys played melody and the harmony together. It wasn't strum, 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 melody,
Right.
melody,
One
strum,
guy
strum,
playing
strum.
melody. One.
Yeah, because as an ukulele player, when it comes to melody of the song, you have a choice. And the choice is have somebody sing the melody, or have another instrument play the melody,
Right.
or play the melody and the harmony at the same time. And that's one of the reasons why I like low and mellow, and also one of the reasons why I really love the extended scale.
So Kimo,
Yes.
Kimo, just out of curiosity, explain this instrument to us. What is it that's really special about this rhymes? The sound, playability, the looks, the aesthetics, etc., etc.
Okay, when I consider any ukulele, and what I like to share in the workshops that I do is when people are considering an ukulele from the player standpoint, that they make that consideration in three dimensions. And those three dimensions are, first of all, looks. It's pretty impossible to play an ukulele before you look at it. And
I thought you were going to say it's really hard to play an ukulele that's ugly.
I never thought about that. But anyway, looks. Every time I think a person picks up a new ukulele, that there's something about how that instrument looks that gets recorded, and it doesn't mean that if that initial recording is positive or not. It just gets recorded,
Right.
and becomes one of the considerations for a person making that uke a permanent part of his or her being. The next thing is, first of all, looks. If any person takes the time to look at a quality instrument as opposed to a not so high quality instrument in terms of looks, it's not very difficult to discern quality and not so high quality. And just take a look at this uke. Should I put it this way? Is it easier to see? As I turn this uke around, you see that first of all, the woods, the look of the woods and the color are perfectly composed. It's like the uke is whole. One of the things I like about, I don't know if this is binding or purfling, it doesn't matter.
Binding.
But the stuff that goes around
The
like
stuff.
that. What I like about that is that it contains the uke. As opposed to, sometimes it's just joined without without this, and that's not bad. But I like this look of containment. The other thing I love about this ukulele is, and this is characteristic of a lot of ukes, is curves. I prefer curves over sharp angles, and I say that because I prefer curvy music as opposed to angular music.
Uh-huh.
To me, angular music is sharp strumming, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of preference.
Yeah.
And then as I continue to turn this around, you see that the finish is beautiful, and it looks classically beautiful, as opposed to somebody who sprayed the ukulele. And a lot of times, especially on high gloss ukuleles like this, there's too much, I guess, spray on it. So anyway, in terms of looks, I think it's wonderful. I think
You had told me in terms of looks, you said, I like darker colored
do.
woods rather than, say, German spruce top with no tinting. It's almost white,
That's correct.
and so we went with the Sinker redwood because of the darker.
I remember
hues.
talking about that now, and I kind of think now that you mentioned that, the reason why I said that is that I've been so accustomed to darker wood instruments and ukuleles. The second thing that I like to tell people to consider, and this ukulele passes with high marks, is action. And action means, how hard is that instrument to play?
Right.
Do you have to put the death grip on it to get to chords like that?
Usually,
Like
if you do have to really press down, action's too high, string goes sharp. So
That's
not
correct.
only is it harder to play, but you're playing out of tune.
That's
most
correct.
of the time.
And sometimes on ukes the distance between the string and the fretboard here is real small, and up here it's real big.
Yeah.
It makes action really tough. But this
Yeah.
uke, silky smooth. The third dimension is sound, and sound is almost totally a matter of preference. So looks, playability, and sound. All of that for me go into general consideration as to how I like to play that sound. Sound is very important, and we could sit here and talk for a week just about sound.
Absolutely.
But now, having said that, let me hear from you. When we talked about this, and you decided, oh, okay, we'll do this. And now that it's finished, what is your feedback?
Well, it's always exciting for me to get something back after it's been out of the shop for a period of time, because it changes so drastically. Maybe not drastically, but I can really hear the difference. It's subtle, or as Grant would say, subtle. But,
Subtle.
it's basically the same thing.
Yeah. What does subtle mean in Scots? Everybody?
It's the same as Manato.
Well,
Mandoa.
yeah. But my goal has always been, it has to have a balance. I'm not a big fan of the big dreadnought guitars. They are very good at producing bass. Big Lou Rawls kind of
Yeah.
authoritative bass. But treble-wise, you get up high on one, it's there. It's not a lack of volume. It just is a character that the treble has. When you get up there, that guitar is not built for optimal treble. So it's heavy on the bass.
Right.
If they get down into the parlor-sized guitars, which are fun to play, but they wouldn't have the bass
Right.
that you really need for a really balanced sound. I love parlor guitars. They have their own, they have a function. But my favorite is a guitar size like OM, 15-inch body, that has really sweet high end and plenty of bass and mid, the whole spectrum. So ukuleles too, they just have there's a balance that I'm looking for.
Right.
And that comes, one of the first comments people make about my instruments is they're surprised at the weight or
Right.
lack of.
Right.
They're light, and that is very important in trying to get a lot of attack. Well, attack is the sound that just jumps off the string when you pluck it. Sustain is how long does that note last. They're kind of counterpoint to each other.
Yeah.
Usually, if it's got a strong attack, it takes a little away from the sustain. Usually, if it doesn't have much attack, that note will last. And
Yeah.
I think it's called inertia. But so I'm looking for a balance, and that is mainly the soundboard. They call it that because so much of the sound is generated by the soundboard.
Right.
If these, is that me? Sorry. If so much of the sound comes off the soundboard, if you made these sides out of ebony or Brazilian rosewood, this is ziricote, it would really take an expert, somebody who's listened to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ukuleles made with these different kinds of woods to tell the difference.
Okay.
So,
Good.
I was just saying that in terms of the balance between treble and bass, it's really nice to have a very light top, but strong enough to last for generations.
Yeah.
But I'm not against seeing slight curves to the top. If you don't see any curves to the top, you
It's
do
thick.
not have a good sounding ukulele
Yeah.
or classical guitar.
Yeah.
You can really see where braces are,
Right.
but it's strong. It'll last forever.
Right.
But the wood just kind of settles into having 45 pounds of pull on the neck. So I'm looking for balance. And then with the long scale, you have more tension. If it's tuned to standard tuning, you have more tension. So the two reasons most of the time people are looking for a longer scale is tension. They want more tension because they're playing with aggression. They're
Got it.
playing and something, and they want to be able to play softly, but then when they hit it, they want this attack that
Right.
just grabs people.
Right.
And so,
Which is characteristic of a lot of ukulele players.
yeah, and classical guitarists, they have
Yeah.
these passages that, what's the, allegre, no, that's slow. Anyway, so some players like to play very dynamically. They'll play very soft, and in the same passage they'll play with forte, where they really want to bear into the string and not have the string wimp out on them. And so that's where you need high tension. So the longer scale gives you the higher tension. It also gives you a little bit more of a challenge stretch-wise if you're trying to cover 6 frets. But, and what does this have? 15 frets of the body, so you have a little bit more access. But that has more.
And I appreciate that access
You
very
do.
much. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Long scale, I'm sure you could answer, you're a player who likes long scales, so, anyway, so this is maybe one of, 20 I've ever made with the long scale,
Ah,
and most people want the 17-inch
yeah.
scale.
A word that you used that I really like is balance. You know, when I mentioned looks, playability, and sound, all three of those things need to be balanced so that you don't run into an ukulele that looks just beautiful and sounds like the builder strung up a rock.
Yeah,
And the other thing about this uke specifically is that it would be wonderful sometime if we could talk about sound a little bit, because sometimes in ukuleles when we talk, for example, about low and mellow versus high and bright,
right.
we don't necessarily are trying to make decisions based on extremes, because between low and mellow and high and bright is all of this what I will call range. And there's some things about ukulele, this ukulele specifically, that in my mind has to do with range, and perhaps sometime we can talk about that.
I would love to,
Great.
you know.
Well, actually, gentlemen, that's a lovely segue, and what we can do is say thank you, Kimo Hase.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
This was
you,
fun.
Steve Grimes.
Ton of
This
fun.
is Grant Keeler from Manato. Wanted to share this wonderful story with you. This is part 1. Watch out for part 2 with a little bit playing and the discussion around, you know, between bright and for mellow, and then we could actually hear this thing in action. It would be wonderful. Thank you, gentlemen. Aloha.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha.